My homewrecker sister slept with every guy I dated in high school. I used to think the worst thing my sister ever did was steal my favorite hoodie. It was this faded charcoal one with paint flecks on the sleeve from when I tried to DIY it with a sponge and ended up looking like I wrestled a wall. I wore it when I studied, when I had cramps, when I didn't want anyone to look at me. She borrowed it one Friday, promised she'd give it back, and then walked into school on Monday wearing it like it had always belonged to her. At the time, I rolled my eyes and told myself, that's just what sisters do. I didn't realize the hoodie was a warning. I'm going to tell you a story that still makes my stomach clench when I say it out loud. It's about my sister Brielle. Beautiful, charming, 2 years older than me, and how, during high school, she somehow found a way to win every time I tried to have something that was mine. And it's about how I didn't understand why she did it until years later. My name is Tessa. I'm 30 now. But this story begins in a town so small that news traveled faster than Wi Fi, and the high school felt like the entire universe. The first boy was named Evan Reed. Evan was the kind of boy teachers liked even when he forgot homework. He had a lazy half smile and a laugh that made people turn around in the hallway. We met because he sat behind me in Algebra 2 and kept tapping his pencil against my chair like it was a drum. I turned around one day and said, "If you don't stop, I'm going to snap that pencil in half." He leaned forward, eyes bright. "So you do notice me," he said. I told my best friend Marin that he was annoying. She stared at me and said, "You're blushing. You're literally blushing." 2 weeks later, Evan asked me out. No big production, no posters, just a quiet moment after class when the bell rang and everyone spilled into the hallway. He waited until we were alone and said, "Do you want to go to homecoming with me?" My heart did that embarrassing flip. I said yes so fast my voice cracked. That afternoon, I floated home. I remember the way the sun hit the kitchen tiles and how normal everything looked. My mom was making pasta, my dad was watching sports, Brielle was sitting at the counter, scrolling on her phone like she owned time. She looked up. "Why are you smiling like you won the lottery?" she asked. "Evan asked me to homecoming," I said. Brielle's expression changed, just a flicker. It wasn't surprise, it wasn't excitement, it was interest. "Evan Reed?" she asked. "Yeah." She smiled. "Cute," she said. "Good for you, Tess. And if you didn't know her, you would have believed it." Homecoming week felt like a movie. I bought a navy dress that made my eyes look brighter. Maren came with me, took pictures, squealed in the fitting room. The night of the dance, Evan arrived with a corsage and this nervous energy that made him seem sweet instead of cocky. My parents did the usual parent thing, questions, pictures, warnings. And then Brielle walked down the stairs. She wasn't even going to homecoming. She always said dances were pathetic. But she was dressed like she had a reason. Red dress, perfect hair, lipstick that looked like a dare. She leaned against the banister. "Well," she asked, "do I look dead inside enough for a school dance?" My mom gasped. "Brielle, honey, you look stunning." Evan glanced up, just a quick look, just a moment, but Brielle noticed, and in that moment I watched her decide something. At the dance, Evan held my hand. We danced, we laughed. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't just Brielle's little sister. I felt like a person with my own life. Then Brielle showed up. She walked into the gym with two girls from her friend, group glitter, confidence, perfume that hit you before she did. She didn't have a date. She didn't need one. I told myself she was just there to say hi to people. I told myself I was being paranoid. But she drifted straight toward Evan. She smiled at him like she was greeting an old friend. Evan smiled back. The music got loud, but all I could hear was my own pulse. Brielle leaned in and said something. Evan laughed. Then he looked at me like he remembered I existed. "I'll be right back," he said. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Bathroom," he said, already moving. Marin appeared beside me, eyes wide. "Tess," she said slowly, "why is your sister touching your date's arm?" I swallowed. "She's just talking," I lied. But even as I said it, I knew. I knew the way I knew the sky was going to rain. I pushed through the crowd. By the time I reached them, Brielle had hooked her arm through Evan's like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Oh my God," she said brightly when she saw me. "There you are. Evan was just telling me how funny you are." Evan looked uncomfortable. Guilty. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I said, forcing my voice steady. "I thought you were going to the bathroom." He rubbed the back of his neck. Brielle squeezed his arm. "I needed a ride," she said. "My friends are leaving early." "You have a car," I said. Brielle's eyes sparkled. "My car's acting up," she said smoothly. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't. But Evan didn't know her the way I did. He hesitated, and in that hesitation he could have chosen me. Instead he said, "It's on the way. I'll be back." And he walked away with my sister. I stood there holding my own hands. Marin grabbed my wrist. "Go after them," she whispered. "I can't," I said, "because if I followed them, I'd have to see whatever was coming. And once you see something like that, you can't unsee it." Evan didn't come back. He texted me 20 minutes later. "Sorry, something came up. I'll call tomorrow." The next morning, I found his actual hoodie on our laundry room chair, not mine, his. I walked into the kitchen holding it like evidence. Brielle was eating cereal like she was in a commercial. "Why is Evan's hoodie here?" I asked. She didn't even look up. He forgot it, she said. At our house? She finally glanced at me and smiled like I was adorable. Tessa, she said, don't be weird. My mom looked between us. What's going on? She asked. I opened my mouth, and then I closed it. Because I could already hear Brielle's voice in my head. You're dramatic, you're jealous, he's not your boyfriend, so I swallowed the truth. That afternoon, Evan called. His voice was shaky. Tess, he said, I'm sorry. My throat went tight. Did you take my sister home? I asked. Silence. Then he exhaled. Yeah, and then things happened. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. I said very quietly, we're done. He started talking fast excuses, apologies, the same script every boy thinks is original. I hung up. Then I sat on my bed and stared at the wall for an hour. Because I wasn't just heartbroken. I was confused. Why would my sister do that? Why would she look at me and choose to hurt me? After Evan, I told myself I'd be smarter. I made rules. Rule 1, don't date anyone who thinks Brielle is a celebrity. Rule 2, don't bring anyone home. Rule 3, don't tell Brielle anything you can't afford to lose. That's how I ended up dating a boy named Liam Park. Liam was the opposite of Evan. Quiet, thoughtful, kind. He wasn't popular, which in my mind meant he wouldn't be a target. We met in the library of all places. He was tutoring a freshman. I was shelving books for community service hours. He looked up, smiled politely, and asked if I could help him find an old literature textbook. I did. Then he asked if I wanted to get coffee. I said yes, and for a while, it was good. Liam listened when I spoke. He didn't pressure me. He didn't play games. I didn't tell Brielle about him, not for months. Then one Saturday, my parents hosted a barbecue. It was the kind of small-town gathering where people showed up with paper plates and opinions. Liam came with me because I thought, Brielle is at work. She won't even be here. And of course, because life has a sense of humor. Brielle showed up early. She walked into the backyard like the party existed for her. Her eyes landed on Liam. And I felt my stomach drop the same way it had at homecoming. Because I saw it. That spark. That decision. She introduced herself like she was doing him a favor. You must be Liam, she said, smiling too brightly. Tessa never tells me anything. I'm Brielle. Liam shook her hand politely. Nice to meet you, he said. Brielle leaned closer. Oh, you're polite, she said. That's rare. Brielle, I said sharply. She glanced at me like she'd forgotten I was there. Relax, she said. I'm being friendly. I watched Liam. I watched his eyes. He didn't do the Evan thing. He didn't stare. He didn't light up. Relief loosened my chest. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe Brielle couldn't do it again. Then, an hour later, Liam disappeared. I looked for him by the drinks, by the grill, by the side gate. I didn't see him. Then I heard laughter from inside. Brielle's laugh. Soft. Private. I walked into the house and followed the sound down the hallway. My parents' office door was half closed. I pushed it open. Liam was standing by the desk, shoulders tense. Brielle was sitting on the edge of the chair, legs crossed, smiling like she'd been waiting for me. They weren't touching, but the air between them felt wrong. Liam looked at me like he'd been caught. Tess, he said quickly, your sister was just helping? I asked. Brielle laughed. Don't act like I'm some villain, she said. I was literally asking him questions. What kind of questions? I asked. Liam swallowed. She asked if we were serious, he admitted. And what did you say? He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Brielle's smile widened. He said he likes you, she said, but he also said you're kind of closed off, like you're scared. My face burned. Did you tell her that? I asked Liam. He looked miserable. You didn't mean what? I snapped. To give my sister ammo? Brielle stood and walked past me, brushing my shoulder like she owned the space. It's not my fault you're fragile, she murmured. I spun. Why do you do this? Brielle turned back slowly. Her expression was calm, almost bored. Because I can, she said. Then she walked out. I stared at Liam. He reached for my hand. Tess, I swear, nothing happened, he said. I pulled away. Not yet, I whispered, and I hated myself for saying it because I could see how it hurt him. But my body remembered Evan. My body remembered Brielle, and I couldn't be naive anymore. Liam and I tried to keep dating after that, but once suspicion enters a relationship, it doesn't leave quietly. Every time Brielle texted me, my stomach tightened. Every time Liam looked at his phone and smiled, my mind filled in the worst story. 2 weeks later, Liam admitted Brielle had followed him on social media. She just requested, he said, like it was nothing. My hands went cold. Did you accept? He hesitated, and that was it. I ended it, not because Liam was evil, but because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't date and fight my sister in the background at the same time. By the time senior year rolled around, I was exhausted, not tired like I need sleep. Tired like I'm carrying a secret that's heavier than my backpack. Brielle had graduated and started community college nearby. She was home constantly, every weekend, every family dinner, every random Tuesday where she forgot something. And every time she came home, it felt like the air got thinner. Then I met Noah. Noah wasn't a hallway crush. He wasn't popular. He wasn't flashy. He was steady. He worked at the hardware store after school. He saved money. He talked about the future like it was real. We met when I spilled a box of nails on the floor and started panicking like the nails were going to attack me. He crouched beside me and said, "You don't have to pick up every single one." I looked up. He smiled. "I'm Noah," he said. "I'm humiliated," I said. He laughed. "Nice to meet you, humiliated." I laughed too. And for the first time in a long time, it felt easy. Noah and I dated quietly. He didn't want drama. I didn't want attention. We were a perfect match in that way. I didn't tell Brielle. I didn't bring him home. I didn't even post pictures. I tried to keep it invisible. Then Thanksgiving came. Noah wanted to meet my parents. I tried to say no. I tried to make excuses. But he said, "Tess, I care about you. I want to know the people who made you." My chest hurt. I said yes, and I prayed Brielle wouldn't come. She did. Of course she did. She walked into the dining room in a fitted sweater, hair perfect, smile ready. Her eyes landed on Noah, and I felt the familiar cold slide down my spine. Noah stood. "Hi," he said. "I'm Noah." Brielle's smile sharpened. "Noah," she repeated like she was tasting the name. "And you're with Tessa." It wasn't a question, it was a claim. Noah nodded. "Yes," he said. He took my hand, and in that tiny moment I felt hope, because he didn't look at her like she was sunlight. He looked at her like she was a person, not a prize. Brielle's eyes narrowed. And that's when I knew. If she couldn't seduce him easily, she'd try something else. Thanksgiving dinner started like every other family dinner in our house. My mom over-seasoning something out of fear, my dad pretending he wasn't stressed, and Brielle taking up emotional space like it was oxygen. Noah sat beside me at the table, polite and steady. He complimented my mom's cooking. He offered to clear plates. He laughed at my dad's jokes even when they weren't funny. In a different family, Noah would have been celebrated. In my family, he was a challenge. Brielle made it a game immediately. It wasn't obvious the way it had been with Evan. She didn't touch Noah's arm. She didn't lean in too close. Instead, she played a smarter angle. She tried to get inside his head. "So," she said as she cut her turkey with perfect, careful motions, "Tessa tells you about her plans after graduation?" Noah nodded. "College," he said. "She's excited." "She should be," Brielle said. "She's always been the responsible one." I felt my shoulders tense. Noah glanced at me like he could sense it. "That's a good thing," he said. Brielle's eyes flicked to his face. "Sometimes," she said lightly, "responsible means guarded." Noah's expression didn't change. "Or it means she's smart," he replied. My heart fluttered. Brielle smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're sweet," she said. Then she turned to me. "Tess, you didn't tell me he was so grown up." I forced a smile. "I didn't tell you anything," I said. Brielle's brows lifted. "True," she said. "I wonder why." After dinner, Noah and I helped clean up. We stood side by side at the sink, hands in warm water, plates clinking, and for a moment it felt almost normal. Noah leaned close and whispered, "Your sister's intense." I let out a breath. "That's one word for it." He nudged me with his shoulder. "I'm not interested in her," he said quietly. Relief hit me so hard my eyes burned. "Thank you," I whispered. He frowned. "Why are you thanking me for basic loyalty?" I stared at the suds. "Because," I said, and my voice cracked a little, "it's not as basic in my life as it should be." Noah's face softened. He kissed my forehead. "I'm not those guys," he promised. And I believed him, because I needed to. The next week, Brielle didn't flirt with Noah. She didn't call him. She didn't follow him around. Instead, she did something scarier. She became my friend. One night, I was doing homework at the kitchen table when she sat across from me with a mug of tea. "Can I ask you something?" she said. I looked up cautiously. "Sure." She lowered her voice. "Do you actually love him?" she asked. The question landed like a slap. "Why?" She shrugged. "I'm just curious," she said. "You don't usually stick with anyone." "That's not true." Brielle tilted her head. "It kind of is," she said, "unless you're counting the ones who left." My stomach twisted. "What do you want?" I asked. Her eyes were calm. "I want you to be happy," she said. It was such a perfect lie that for half a second I almost believed it. Then she smiled. "Just don't hurt him," she added. "He seems like a good guy." My throat went tight. "I would never—" "You say that now," Brielle murmured, "but you can be impulsive." I stared at her. "I'm not impulsive." She sipped her tea. "You kissed Evan first," she said casually. My blood went cold. That wasn't true. But how would Noah know that? That night, after Brielle went upstairs, my phone buzzed. "Noah, hey." "Can we talk?" I sat up. "Sure. What's wrong?" There was a pause. "Then, did you and Evan overlap? Like, did you date him while you were talking to someone else?" My mouth went dry. "No." "Why would you ask me that?" Another pause. I heard something. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Heard something. That was Brielle's specialty. Not seducing first. Poisoning first. I typed back. "Who told you that?" No response for a minute. Then, Brielle said you got hurt because you move fast. She said she's worried about me. My hands shook. I almost laughed. Of course, Brielle was worried. I took a deep breath and typed carefully. Noah, my sister has a pattern. She has done things before that hurt me. I don't want to dump all of it on you right now, but please, please don't take what she says as fact. He replied. I'm not. I just wanted to ask you directly. I stared at the message. The fact that he asked me directly should have made me feel safe. Instead, it terrified me, because it meant Brielle had already gotten close enough to plant the question. From that point on, Brielle didn't try to steal Noah with flirting. She tried to steal him with doubt. It started small. One day, Noah asked me why I never posted pictures of us. It's not that I'm ashamed, I said quickly. He studied me. Then why? I didn't want to tell him, because my sister uses social media like a weapon. So I said, I just like keeping things private. He nodded, but I could see the uncertainty. 2 days later, Noah asked why I got weird when his phone buzzed. You don't trust me? He asked. I almost cried. I trust you, I said. I don't trust her. He went quiet. Brielle? He asked. I nodded. Noah rubbed his jaw. She's intense, he admitted. I laughed bitterly. Welcome to my life. Then came the worst part. Brielle started showing up at places Noah was. Not obviously. Not like she was stalking him. Just, coincidentally, the hardware store. The coffee place. Even the little diner where Noah and I liked to sit in the back booth. Every time she appeared, she acted like she was surprised. Oh my God, she'd say. Noah, I didn't know you worked here. Or, Tess, you didn't tell me you two liked this place. It's adorable. She never touched him. She never crossed a line that would be obvious to a stranger. But she did something worse. She made Noah feel seen. She asked him about his day. She remembered details. She complimented him. She made him feel like the hero in her story. And after a while, I could see it. Noah started bracing when he saw her. Not because he wanted her, but because he didn't know how to handle her. And that confusion was the opening she needed. The blow finally landed 2 weeks before Christmas. I came out of my last class and saw Noah leaning against the wall outside the office. His space was tight. Hey, I said, what's wrong? He didn't smile. I got a message, he said. My stomach dropped. From who? He hesitated. Brielle, he said. I closed my eyes. What did she say? Noah's voice was low. She said you and I should talk about boundaries, he said. Because you get close with guys, like you enjoy attention. I stared at him. That's what she said? Noah nodded. She said she's trying to protect me, he added. I laughed once, sharp. Protect you from what? He looked away. From being embarrassed, he said. That word embarrassed hit me like a punch, because it wasn't about trust, it was about fear of looking foolish, and Brielle knew exactly how to press that button. I grabbed Noah's hand and pulled him outside. The air was cold, my breath came out white. Noah, I said, listen to me. My sister has done this before. He frowned. Done what? I swallowed. She tries to insert herself, I said carefully, into my relationships. Noah's expression shifted. Insert herself how? I felt heat rise in my face. I hated saying it, but I forced the words out. She's crossed boundaries with guys I've dated, I said, more than once. Noah stared. Are you saying I'm saying she's not safe for me, I said, and if you want to be with me, you have to understand that. Noah ran a hand through his hair. Why didn't you tell me sooner, he asked. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want to sound crazy. Because I wanted to believe this time would be different. I said the simplest truth. Because it's humiliating, I whispered. Noah's face softened. He pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry, he said. I clung to him. For a second, I thought we were okay. The next day, Noah didn't answer my texts. By dinner, my anxiety had escalated into nausea. I drove to the hardware store because I knew he had a shift. When I walked in, I saw him behind the counter. His face lit up in relief when he saw me. Not guilt, relief. Tess, he said quickly, can we talk after I'm off? I nodded. I waited in my car until closing. When he came out, he looked exhausted. He got in, shut the door, and stared straight ahead. I messed up, he said. My throat went tight. What happened? He swallowed. Brielle came in, he said. She said she needed help picking out tools for your dad. I felt my heart hammer. Okay, I said slowly. Noah's voice cracked. She told me you were going to break up with me, he said. She said you always do. She said you were already talking to someone else. That's not true, I said. I know, he said quickly. I know that now. But she said it with such confidence, and He stopped. I waited. My hands were shaking. And you what? I asked. Noah's eyes glistened. I let her talk, he whispered. I listened. Did you believe her? He hesitated. That hesitation was the same hesitation I'd seen in Liam. The same hesitation that meant, even if he didn't believe her, he enjoyed the attention. My chest hollowed. Noah, I said, voice thin. Did you do something you can't take back? Silence. Then he nodded. I didn't ask him for details. I didn't want them. I just felt my world tilt. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. I was angry. I was confused. And she made it seem like Like it didn't matter. I stared out the windshield, the parking lot lights blurred. It wasn't even the betrayal that hurt the most. It was the confirmation that Brielle could still reach into my life and rip something out, again. Take me home, I said quietly. Noah flinched. Tess, please. Take me home, I repeated. He drove. Neither of us spoke. When we pulled into my driveway, I opened the door. Noah grabbed my hand. I love you, he said desperately. I looked at him, and in that moment, I realized something brutal. Love didn't protect me, it never had. Then you should have protected it, I whispered. I got out and walked inside. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. My mind replayed everything. Evan, Liam, now Noah, 3 times, 3 different boys, same outcome. And the common denominator was a sister who smiled like she was doing me a favor. The next morning, I found Brielle in the kitchen. She was drinking coffee, hair perfect, nails done. She looked up when I walked in. Her smile was small. Hey, she said, you look tired. I stared at her. My voice came out quiet. Did you talk to Noah yesterday? She blinked slowly. Maybe, she said. Why? My hand shook. What did you do? I asked. Brielle set her mug down. Her expression was calm. Tessa, she said, I didn't do anything. I can't control what men do. I laughed and it sounded like I was choking. You can't control what men do, I repeated. But you can control what you choose to try. Brielle leaned forward slightly. I was protecting you, she said. From what? I snapped. From being left, she said softly. It's easier when it happens on your terms. I stared at her. You're sick, I whispered. Her eyes narrowed. Don't call me sick, she said, voice suddenly sharp. You're the one who keeps bringing boys into my orbit. Into your orbit? I echoed. She shrugged. People want what they want, she said, and if they want me, that's not my fault. The cruelty of it was so casual. Like she was talking about weather. I did something I'd never done. I told my parents. I sat them down in the living room that afternoon and said, Brielle keeps sabotaging my relationships. My mom looked horrified. My dad looked confused. And Brielle, sitting in the armchair like she was a guest, looked amused. That's ridiculous, she said. I clenched my fists. Evan, I said. Liam, Noah. My mom's eyes widened. Tessa, what are you saying? She whispered. I felt tears burn. I'm saying she crossed lines, I said. More than once. My dad frowned. Brielle? He asked. Brielle put a hand to her chest. Are you serious? She said. Dad, she's mad because Noah dumped her. She's trying to blame me. My chest tightened. He didn't dump me, I said. I ended it. Because you're dramatic, Brielle said. My mom looked between us. Girls, she said, voice shaky. This is too much. My dad rubbed his forehead. Tess, he said. Your sister wouldn't do that. I stared at him. Wouldn't she? I whispered. Brielle smiled. And in that smile, I saw the real reason she'd always gotten away with it. Because my parents didn't want to know. They didn't want to believe their golden daughter could be cruel. It was easier to believe I was sensitive. Easier to believe boys were just boys. Easier to believe I was unlucky. And Brielle knew that. She'd built her whole life on it. Graduation came like a door opening. People talk about senior year like it's magical. For me, it was survival. I walked through the hallways with my chin up, smiled at people who didn't know anything, and pretended I wasn't carrying a private war in my chest. Noah avoided me in public. When we crossed paths, he looked down like he couldn't stand to see what he'd helped break. Brielle, meanwhile, looked radiant. She always looked radiant. That was part of her armor. At graduation, my parents cried, and my mom hugged me and whispered, I'm so proud of you. My dad squeezed my shoulder and said, You did good, kiddo. Brielle took pictures like she was the photographer for a magazine. Smile, she told me. I smiled. Because if I didn't, it would become a story. And I was tired of being a story. 2 hours after graduation, I packed my car. Not for good. I still had a summer before college. But I packed as if I was leaving forever. It was symbolic. My room was my only safe space, and even it didn't feel safe anymore. Because Brielle could walk into it whenever she wanted. She didn't knock. She didn't ask. She just entered. That was her whole philosophy. If she wanted something, she stepped into the room and claimed it. That summer, I worked as many hours as my boss would give me. I saved money. I counted down the days. And I tried not to think about the fact that my parents still invited Brielle to everything. Family dinners, movie nights, trips to the lake, like nothing had happened. Like my pain was a phase. Like Brielle wasn't a hurricane that always returned. The night before I left for college, Brielle knocked on my bedroom door. That alone was suspicious. Come in, I said cautiously. She walked in holding my old hoodie, the one she'd stolen years ago. She tossed it onto my bed. You left this in the laundry room, she said. I stared at it. You kept it, I said. She shrugged. It looked better on me, she said. I should have said something sharp. I should have told her to get out. Instead, I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Why? Brielle leaned against my dresser like she was at a party. Why what? Why did you do it? I asked. Why did you keep doing it? Her smile faded. For the first time in a long time, she looked almost tired. You're still on that? She asked. I stared at her. I'm still on the fact that you ruined my ability to trust people, I said quietly. Brielle's eyes narrowed. Don't be dramatic, she said automatically. I laughed. See? I said. That's your favorite line. For a second, Brielle didn't answer. Then she said, they made their choices, and you made yours, I replied. She pushed off the dresser. Fine, she said. You want the truth? My throat tightened. Yes. Brielle's voice was quiet. Because you looked happy, she said. I blinked. That's it? She shrugged. You looked happy, she repeated, and it was annoying. Something in me went cold. You couldn't stand me being happy, I whispered. Brielle's eyes flicked away. You don't understand what it's like, she said. What it's like to be admired? I asked bitterly. Her jaw tightened. What it's like, she corrected, to be expected to be perfect all the time. I stared at her. So you punished me? She didn't answer. She just looked at me like I was speaking a language she didn't want to learn. Then she turned toward the door. Have fun at college, she said, voice light again. Try not to fall apart. She left. And I sat there staring at my old hoodie, realizing that even when Brielle told the truth, she still found a way to stab. College was 2 hours away. That distance felt like a whole planet. My first week on campus, I walked everywhere like I had to prove I belonged. I made friends slowly. I took notes obsessively. I sat in the back of lecture halls and told myself, no one knows my sister here. No one knows my history. No one can use it against me. And for a while, it worked. I started sleeping better. I started laughing more. I started feeling like I was expanding back into my own body. Then, in October, I met Grant. Grant was in my intro to psych class. He wore glasses and always had a coffee in his hand. He made jokes under his breath that made me fight smiles in the middle of lectures. One day, after class, he said, Do you want to study together? You look like you actually care about passing. I laughed. I do care about passing, I said. He grinned. Then we should probably team up, he said. We started meeting at the library. Then we started getting dinner after. Then he kissed me outside my dorm one night when the air smelled like fall and the campus lights made everything feel cinematic. I kissed him back. And in the moment I did, a voice in my head whispered, Don't tell Brielle. So I didn't. I didn't post pictures. I didn't mention his name when I called home. I kept him in a locked box in my life like a treasure, because I was terrified Brielle could still find a way to take him. But secrets have weight. And eventually, the people who love you notice you're carrying something. Grant noticed. One night, he sat on my dorm bed while I pretended to read and said, Can I ask you something? I looked up. Okay. He hesitated. Why do you act like you're waiting for me to disappear? He asked. My throat went tight. I don't, I lied. Grant's eyes were gentle. You do, he said. Sometimes it feels like you're bracing, like you don't trust good things. I stared at him, and I realized I had a choice. I could keep pretending, or I could finally tell someone the truth. So I told him, not every detail, but enough. I told him I had a sister who competed with me in ways sisters shouldn't. I told him my sister had crossed lines. I told him it made me feel like my happiness was unsafe. Grant listened without interrupting. Then he said something that made my eyes sting. That's not your fault, he said. I laughed softly. It feels like it is, I admitted. Grant shook his head. Your sister's choices aren't your responsibility, he said. And if she ever tries to come near us, we handle it together. Together. No guy had ever said that. No guy had ever made it sound like we were on the same side. I cried anyway. Not loud. Just quiet tears that felt like something thawing. 2 weeks later, Brielle found out. Of course she did. It happened because my mom posted a picture on Facebook. It wasn't even about Grant. It was a family post, proud of Tessa for her first semester with a collage of photos. In one of them, Grant's arm was around me, not even obvious, just there. Within an hour, my phone buzzed. Brielle, who's the guy? I stared at the text. My heartbeat slowed. This time, I didn't panic. I typed back. His name is Grant. He's my boyfriend. Seconds later. Cute. Is he like serious? My stomach tightened. I could feel her reaching, searching for the seam. I replied, yes, she sent. Tell him I said hi. I didn't respond. The next day, Grant told me he got a follow request. From someone named Brielle, he said, holding up his phone. Is that your sister? My blood went cold. Don't accept it, I said too fast. Grant's eyebrows lifted. Okay, he said slowly. But why? I swallowed. Because she doesn't want to know you, I said. She wants access. Grant studied my face. Then he declined the request. Just like that. No hesitation, no debate. He did it like it was the simplest thing, and the fact that it was so simple for him made me realize how twisted my normal had been. That week, Brielle switched tactics. She didn't go through Grant. She went through me. She started texting more. Not mean, not obviously, just constant. What's his major? How tall is he? Does he have brothers? Is he loyal? Does he ever get bored? Every question felt like a finger poking a bruise. Finally, I called her. She answered on the second ring. Tess, she said like we were best friends. Stop, I said. Her voice turned innocent. Stop what? Stop acting like you're interested in my life, I said. You're interested in controlling it. There was a pause. Then Brielle laughed. You're still obsessed with me, she said. My hands shook. I'm not obsessed, I said. I'm cautious, because you're dangerous. Her tone sharpened. You can't call me dangerous because boys liked me, she snapped. I swallowed. They didn't just like you, Brielle, I said quietly. You went after them. Silence. Then she exhaled. You were always going to get hurt, she said. I just sped it up. I stared at the wall. That's psychotic, I whispered. It's realistic, she replied. You live in fantasies. Then she softened her voice again like she was flipping a switch. Anyway, she said, I'm coming to campus next month. There's a concert. My stomach dropped. Why? Because I want to visit my little sister, she said. Don't, I said. She laughed. You can't stop me, she said. And then she hung up. When Brielle visited my campus, she didn't come alone. She came with her boyfriend at the time, a guy named Connor who looked like he'd never been told no. They showed up at my dorm like a surprise inspection. I opened the door and saw Brielle smiling. My body went rigid. Surprise, she said. Grant was behind me and I felt his hand rest lightly on my lower back. Not possessive, protective. Brielle's gaze flicked to his hand, then to his face. Her smile changed. So you must be Grant, she said. Grant nodded. Hi, he said. You're Brielle. I've heard so much about you, Brielle lied. Grant didn't smile back. He stayed polite but distant. And I watched Brielle realize she couldn't charm him with the usual script, so she tried something else. She tried to charm everyone around him. She complimented my roommate. She laughed with my neighbors. She made Connor buy everyone coffee. She acted like she was the fun older sister who loved me. And the worst part was watching people believe it, watching them smile at her, watching them say, your sister is awesome. I felt 16 again, small, invisible. That night, after Brielle left, Grant sat with me on the dorm floor. She's a lot, he said carefully. I laughed without humor. Told you. Grant was quiet for a moment. Then he said, she tried to get under your skin. I looked at him. How do you know? He shrugged. Because she kept looking at you to see if you were reacting, he said, and when you didn't, she pushed harder. My throat tightened. That's exactly what she does, I whispered. Grant took my hand. Then we don't react, he said. We set boundaries. We. Again. I wanted to believe it would be enough. It was, for a while. The one thing Brielle didn't expect was that Grant didn't want her, not even a little, and when she realized she couldn't win him, she stopped trying to win him. Instead, she tried to break him. It happened to Connor. Connor started messaging Grant after that visit. At first, it looked friendly. Hey man, you play basketball? You and Tess been together long? Then it turned into subtle pressure. Brielle says Tess is kind of intense sometimes. Brielle says you should watch out. Grant showed me the messages. This feels weird, he said. I stared at the screen. Brielle was using her boyfriend like a mouthpiece. She was trying to plant doubt without getting her hands dirty. I felt rage rise in my chest. Block him, I said. Grant nodded. He blocked Connor. And that's when Brielle finally slipped. Because she couldn't handle not having access. 2 days later, I got a long text from Brielle. It wasn't playful. It wasn't fun, sister. It was angry. You really think you're better than me now? You think your little college boyfriend makes you untouchable? You're still you, Tess. You're still the girl who cries when things don't go her way. I stared at the message, hands trembling. Then I did something I'd never done. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot. And I sent it to my mom. No explanation, just proof. My mom called me 10 minutes later. Her voice was tight. Tessa, she said, what is going on with you and your sister? I closed my eyes. Mom, I whispered, it's been going on for years. There was silence. Then my mom said something that broke my heart in a new way. Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? I laughed softly. I did, I said. You didn't want to hear it. My mom didn't answer, and in that silence, I realized something. Even when you show people proof, they still have to want to see. People love to say, high school doesn't matter. I understand why they say it. It's comforting. It's a way to shrink the past so it doesn't feel like it can still reach you. But for me, high school mattered because it taught my nervous system a lesson it wouldn't forget. Love can be taken, even when you do everything right. Grant and I stayed together after college. We got jobs in the same city. We moved into a small apartment with mismatched furniture and a kitchen that always smelled like coffee. We built routines. We built trust. And slowly, without realizing it, I stopped bracing for disaster every day. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and panic for no reason. Grant would roll over, half asleep, and pull me close. You're safe, he'd mumble. And my body would believe him. Not because the world was safe, but because he was consistent. I also did something else. I started therapy. I didn't announce it to anyone. I didn't post about it. I just went. Every Tuesday at 5. I sat in a small room with a woman named Dr. Klein who had kind eyes and a way of asking questions that made my defenses fall apart. The first day she asked, "What brings you here?" I said, I think my sister broke something in me. Dr. Klein nodded like that made perfect sense. Tell me about your sister, she said, and once I started, it poured out. Therapy taught me a painful truth. I wasn't just angry at Brielle, I was angry at the people who let her. I was angry at the adults who decided it was easier to keep the peace than to protect me. I was angry at myself for thinking I had to earn safety. And I was angry at Brielle for making me feel like love was a competition. Dr. Klein said something I wrote down and kept in my wallet for years. A boundary is not a request, it's a line you enforce. I didn't know yet how much I would need that. The phone call came on a random Thursday. I was making pasta. Grant was in the living room watching a game. My phone buzzed. Mom! I answered with my shoulder pressed to my ear. Hey, I said. Everything okay? My mom's voice sounded nervous. Tessa, she said, Brielle is engaged. I paused. Okay, I said cautiously. My mom rushed on. His name is Miles. He's nice. He works in finance. He's very polite. He wants to do things the right way. I stirred the pot slowly. That's good, I said. My mom hesitated. She wants to come visit, she said. She says she wants to repair things. I felt my stomach tighten. Repair? I repeated. She said she regrets how she treated you, my mom said quickly, like she was trying to convince herself. Grant muted the TV and looked at me. I held his gaze. Mom, I said carefully, Brielle has never regretted anything unless it made her look bad. My mom sighed. People can change, she said. I almost laughed. They can, I agreed. But has she? My mom didn't answer. Then she said, she wants to come for dinner next month, with Miles. The room felt smaller. Grant stood and walked toward me. He waited. I swallowed. Okay, I said finally. Dinner. Because some part of me still wanted the fantasy. The fantasy that Brielle would wake up one day and realize she'd been cruel. The fantasy that she'd say, I'm sorry. The fantasy that I could have a sister again. When I told Grant, he didn't sugarcoat it. Do you want her here? He asked. I stared at the pasta. No, I admitted. Then why are we doing it? Because my mother still hoped. Because my father still refused to see. Because I was tired of being the only one who held the truth. I said the real reason. Because I want to watch her with her mask on, I said. I want to see if it slips. Grant's expression sharpened. And if it does? I took a breath. Then I stopped pretending, I said. Brielle arrived at our apartment like she was walking into a photo shoot. She wore a cream sweater and heels that clipped on our hallway tile. Miles walked beside her holding a bottle of wine. He looked exactly like my mom had described. Polite, clean-cut, slightly nervous. He smiled when he shook my hand. Tessa, he said. It's really nice to meet you. His voice was sincere. That sincerity made my chest ache, because I immediately knew something. Miles didn't deserve Brielle, and Brielle didn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. During dinner, Brielle acted like a different person. She complimented my cooking. She asked Grant about his job. She told stories about how close we were as kids that made Grant's eyes flick to me like he was checking if I was okay. I kept my smile polite. I kept my answers short. I watched, and at first she played it perfectly. Then, halfway through dinner, Brielle said, Grant, can you help me with something? Grant blinked. Sure, he said cautiously. The wine opener is stuck, Brielle said, holding the bottle out like a prop. I looked at it. The bottle was already open. Grant noticed too. He smiled politely. It's open, he said. Brielle laughed. Oh my God, she said. I'm so scatterbrained. Pregnancy brain already. Miles looked startled. What? He asked. Brielle waved a hand. I'm kidding, she said quickly. Relax. But I saw what she was doing. She was testing. She was stirring. She was checking how easy it was to manipulate the room. After dinner, Miles offered to do the dishes. Please, he said. You cooked. Grant started to protest, but I said, okay, because I didn't want Miles alone in the kitchen with Brielle. And because I knew exactly what Brielle would do if she got a private moment with Grant. So I stayed. I rinsed plates. Miles washed. Grant dried. Brielle sat on the couch like a queen. And even from across the room, I felt her eyes. Watching. Measuring. When Miles went to the bathroom, Brielle moved. She walked into the kitchen with a casual smile. You two are cute, she said. Grant gave a polite nod. Thanks, he said. Brielle leaned against the counter. Tess always did find stable guys, she said. It's like she's collecting safety. Grant's hands paused. I felt heat rise in my chest. What does that mean? Grant asked. Brielle's eyes flicked to me. Nothing, she said lightly. Just an observation. She stepped closer. Tessa can be intense sometimes, she murmured. You know that, right? Grant's voice stayed calm. She's not intense, he said. She's honest. Brielle's smile tightened. Are you sure? She asked softly. I dropped a fork into the sink louder than necessary. Brielle, I said, voice flat, don't. Her eyes widened in fake innocence. Don't what? Don't do what you're doing, I said. Grant looked between us. The air felt sharp. Then Miles returned. Brielle's entire face changed. She smiled brightly. Babe, she said, your sister's place is so cozy. We should decorate our apartment like this. Miles smiled. Sure, he said. He had no idea. but Grant did. Because Grant watched her flip the switch. And once you see someone flip like that, you don't forget it. After they left, I collapsed onto the couch. Grant sat beside me. He didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, "She tried." I stared at the wall. "Yeah," I whispered. Grant's voice was calm, but I could hear anger under it. "She tried to make me doubt you," he said, "right in front of you." My throat tightened. "That's her whole thing," I said. Grant reached for my hand. "She's not going to stop," he said. The certainty in his voice felt like both comfort and terror. Because if he was right, then the only way to end it wasn't to hope. It was to act. 2 days later, I got a message. From Brielle, it was a photo. Grant, in our building lobby, not doing anything wrong. Just standing by the mailboxes, looking down at his phone. My stomach twisted. Below the photo, Brielle typed, "He's handsome up close." I stared at the screen. My hands went cold. She'd been here. She'd been watching. She wanted me to know. I showed Grant. His jaw tightened. "That's creepy," he said. "It's her version of flirting," I whispered. Grant looked at me. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I heard Dr. Klein's voice in my head. "A boundary is not a request. It's a line you enforce." I took a deep breath. "I want to end it," I said. Grant nodded. "Then we end it," he said. In high school, I never confronted Brielle properly. Not because I didn't want to, because I didn't think anyone would believe me, and because Brielle thrived in private. She needed plausible deniability. She needed the fog. So this time, I decided to do the opposite. I decided to make it public. Not on the internet, not in a messy, viral way, but in the only public that mattered in our lives, family. I invited my parents to dinner. I invited Brielle and Miles, and I invited one more person, Marin, my best friend from high school, because Marin had been there. She had seen Brielle's patterns, she had watched me shrink, and I needed someone in the room who didn't live inside my family's denial. I told everyone it was a family reset, an adult conversation, no drama. Brielle agreed immediately. Of course she did. She thought she could win any room. What she didn't know was that I wasn't bringing a fight. I was bringing receipts. I gathered everything, screenshots, the photo from the lobby, the text she'd sent over the years, the one where she'd said, "You're still you, Tess," and the most important one sent the night after our dinner. I hadn't replied to her handsome up-close message. Instead, I had baited her. I typed, "Why are you doing this again?" And because Brielle couldn't resist explaining her own power, she replied, "Because I still can." That was it. 5 words. But they were the confession I'd needed since I was 16. We chose a restaurant, not fancy, not cheap, neutral ground, somewhere with enough noise that no one would overhear every word, but enough quiet that no one could pretend they didn't hear anything. My parents arrived first. "Well," my mom hugged me too tightly. My dad clapped Grant on the back. Marin arrived and squeezed my hand under the table. "I'm here," she whispered. Then Brielle walked in. Perfect hair, perfect smile. Miles beside her looking hopeful. "Family night," Brielle chirped. She kissed my mom's cheek. She hugged my dad. She hugged me last. And when she did, she whispered in my ear, "You look stressed." We ordered drinks. We made small talk. Brielle laughed too loudly. Miles talked about wedding venues. My mom talked about flowers. My dad talked about work. It looked normal. Then I set my phone on the table. Face up, like a weapon. "I asked everyone here because I'm done pretending," I said. Brielle's smile froze. My mom's eyes widened. Miles blinked. My dad shifted uncomfortably. Marin squeezed my hand. Grant's knee touched mine under the table. "Pretending what?" Brielle asked, voice light. I took a breath. "Pretending you don't do this," I said. "Pretending you don't sabotage me." Brielle laughed. "Oh my God," she said. "Are we still on this, Tess?" "Yes," I cut in. "We are still on it because it didn't stop in high school." Miles frowned. "What's she talking about?" he asked Brielle. Brielle's eyes flicked to him. "Nothing," she said quickly. "Tessa is just—" "Don't," Marin said quietly. Everyone turned. Marin's voice was calm. "Don't dismiss her," Marin said. "I watched this happen." Brielle's smile tightened. "Marin," she said, "you always hated me." Marin shrugged. "I hated what you did," she corrected. I unlocked my phone. I turned the screen toward the table. The lobby photo, then the text. "He's handsome up close." My mom's face went pale. My dad stared. Miles's eyebrows knit. Brielle's expression didn't change. Not at first. Because she still thought she could talk her way out. "That's a joke," she said. "I was complimenting him. I'm allowed to compliment my future brother-in-law." Grant's jaw tightened. I swiped. The next screenshot. "Why are you doing this again?" "Because I still can." Silence. Real silence. The kind of silence where you can hear ice clink in a glass. My mom's mouth opened, then closed. Miles stared at the screen. "Brielle?" he said slowly. Brielle's eyes flashed. "Tessa," she said quietly, "you're embarrassing yourself." My hand shook, but my voice stayed steady. "No," I said. "I'm embarrassing you." Miles looked between us. "What is because I still can mean?" he asked. Brielle laughed again, but it sounded strained. "It means she's insecure," Brielle said. "She wants to make me the villain in her story." My dad finally spoke. Brielle, he said, voice low, did you send that? Brielle's eyes flicked to him. Dad, come on, she said. She probably edited it. Grant leaned forward. She didn't, he said. Brielle's gaze snapped to him. Grant continued calmly. Brielle has been messaging me too, he said. Not directly, but through Connor and then through stalking our lobby. My mom gasped. Stalking? She whispered. Brielle's face hardened. You're all overreacting, she snapped. It's a photo. Marin spoke again. It's not a photo, she said. It's a pattern. Miles's voice cracked. Brielle, he said, have you done this before? Brielle turned to him, eyes wide with practiced innocence. Of course not, she said. He's being manipulated. I felt tears burn, not because I was sad, because I was furious. Miles, I said, voice shaking. She slept with 3 guys I dated in high school. My mom made a small sound. My dad's face went gray. Miles stared at Brielle. Is that true? He asked. Brielle's jaw clenched. They were stupid boys, she hissed. And she acts like it was my job to protect her feelings. My mom looked like she might cry. Brielle, she whispered, why? Brielle's eyes flicked over the table, and for the first time, I saw something. Not guilt, not shame, rage. Because her mask had slipped, and she hated that we could see behind it. Because she needed to learn, Brielle said. My chest tightened. Learn what? I whispered. Brielle's voice was sharp. That love isn't guaranteed, she snapped. My mom's face crumpled. My dad looked like someone had punched him. Miles stared at Brielle like he didn't recognize her. And I sat there realizing Brielle wasn't sorry. She never had been. She just hated being exposed. After I said the words out loud, the table felt like a crime scene. No one knew where to put their eyes. My mom kept staring at Brielle like she was trying to find the daughter she thought she knew. My dad stared at his water glass like the answer might be at the bottom. Miles' hands were flat on the table, fingers spread, as if he needed to physically hold himself down. Brielle sat perfectly upright, chin lifted, like she was the victim of a conspiracy. Miles spoke first. His voice was quiet. So you did it, he said. Brielle's eyes flashed. Miles. He held up a hand. No, he said. You don't get to talk your way out of it. Brielle scoffed. I didn't cheat on you, she snapped. Grant's jaw tightened. Marin's eyes narrowed. But Miles wasn't looking at Grant. He wasn't looking at Marin. He was looking at Brielle like he was watching her real face emerge. You tried, Miles said. You tried to what? Prove you could. Brielle laughed sharply. Oh my God, she said. You're being dramatic. The irony was so thick I almost choked. That was her word, her weapon. She'd used it on me for years. Now she was using it on him. Miles pushed his chair back. The legs scraped the floor. It was loud enough that nearby tables glanced over. I need air, he said. Brielle stood too fast. Miles, don't do this, she said. He looked at her. Don't do what? He asked. Don't react to the truth? Brielle's eyes went wide. They're lying, she said quickly. They're twisting everything. Miles didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell. He just said, I saw the text, because I still can. Brielle's mouth tightened. It was a joke, she insisted. Miles shook his head. It wasn't funny, he said, and then he walked away. Brielle stood there frozen for half a second. Then her eyes snapped to me, and the rage I'd seen earlier returned full force. You did this, she hissed. I stared at her. No, I said. You did this. I just stopped covering for you. My mom made a small sound. Brielle, she whispered, is it true? Brielle turned to my mom like she was offended. Mom, she said, are you seriously going to believe her? My mom's face crumpled. I don't want to believe it, she said. My dad's voice came out rough. Answer your mother, he said. Brielle's eyes darted. For the first time, she looked cornered. Then she did what Brielle always did when she couldn't win. She attacked. Fine, she snapped. Yes, I did it. I did it because she acted like she was better than me. My chest tightened. I never acted better than you, I whispered. Brielle leaned forward. You didn't have to, she said. You just existed. Quiet, sweet, the one everyone felt sorry for. My mom flinched. Brielle, stop, she pleaded. Brielle shook her head. No, she said. I'm done being blamed for men's choices. If they wanted me, that's not my fault. Marin's voice cut through. It becomes your fault when you chase it, she said. Brielle whipped her head around. Shut up, she snapped. Grant stood. He wasn't yelling. But his presence changed the room. Don't talk to her like that, he said. Brielle looked at him, and for a split second I saw something. Not attraction. Not desire. Frustration. Because she couldn't control him, and she hated it. My dad stood too. Brielle, he said, voice low, what is wrong with you? That question from my father was the first real consequence I'd ever seen her face. Brielle's eyes flashed with tears. Not because she felt sorry, because she felt caught. She grabbed her purse. I'm not sitting here while you all gang up on me, she said. My mom reached for her. Brielle. Brielle pulled away. Don't, she snapped. Then she walked out of the restaurant, heels clicking like punctuation. For a moment, none of us moved. The air felt raw. My mom covered her mouth with her hand, eyes wet. My dad looked older. Marin squeezed my hand. Grant rubbed my back in slow circles, and I sat there realizing I'd finally done the thing I was terrified to do. I'd told the truth where everyone could hear it. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Miles. I stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to ignore it, because I didn't want to be pulled into Brielle's chaos any more than I already had. But another part of me, older now, stronger, knew this mattered. I answered. Miles? His voice sounded like someone had cut the floor out from under him. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I blinked. You don't owe me an apology, I said. I kinda do, he said. I've been with her for 2 years. I've seen flashes, but I told myself it was stress or sarcasm or me misunderstanding. He exhaled. Tonight I saw it, he said. The way she looked at you. My throat tightened. Yeah, I whispered. Miles was quiet for a second. Then he said, Is it really every guy? I closed my eyes. I didn't want to relive it, but I answered. Yes, I said. 3 guys, 3 different times, same pattern. Miles's voice cracked. I think she did it to me too, he said. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? He hesitated. There were times, he said slowly, where she'd mention some guy from her gym, or some coworker, and she'd say they wanted her. He let out a bitter laugh. I used to think she was just confident, he said. Now I think she was feeding on it. I stared at the ceiling. She was, I said quietly. Miles swallowed. I'm ending the engagement, he said. The words landed heavy, not because I wanted Brielle to suffer, but because I knew what it meant. It meant Brielle would blame me. It meant she'd tell everyone I ruined her life. It meant the storm wasn't over. Are you safe? I asked. Miles exhaled. Yeah, he said. I'm staying with my brother. She's furious. I believed that. Miles, I said, I'm sorry this happened. He was quiet. Then he said, Thank you for telling the truth. And then he hung up. The next day, my mom came over. She looked like she hadn't slept. She sat at my kitchen table and wrapped her hands around a mug of tea like it was an anchor. I didn't know, she whispered. I stared at her. You did, I said softly. You just didn't want to. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't want to believe my daughter could do something like that, she said. My chest hurt. I was your daughter too, I said. My mom's face crumpled. I know, she whispered, and I'm so sorry. My dad didn't come over. He called. He cleared his throat and said, I failed you. Hearing my father say that made something in me loosen. Not fully, not magically, but enough that I could breathe. Dad, I said quietly, I needed you to see me. He was silent. Then he said, I do. I cried after we hung up, because part of healing is grief. Grief for what you didn't get when you needed it. Brielle didn't call me. She didn't show up at my door. She did what she always did when she was losing. She tried to rewrite the narrative. I started getting texts from distant relatives. What happened with Brielle? Is everything okay? I heard you attacked her. I didn't respond. Then Brielle finally texted me. It was one sentence. You ruined my life. I stared at it for a long time. Grant watched me from across the room. You don't have to answer, he said. I nodded. Then I typed anyway. I didn't ruin your life. I ended your game. She replied instantly. You'll always be my little sister. The implication was clear. You'll always be beneath me. I felt my hands stop shaking, because in that moment I realized something. Brielle didn't have power over me because she was older. She had power because I kept letting her into the room, so I did the most adult thing I'd ever done. I blocked her. Blocking someone doesn't erase the past. It doesn't make you suddenly unhurt. What it does is make the future quieter. It gives you space. And in that space, you can finally hear yourself. I kept going to therapy. I learned that family isn't a free pass. I learned that love without respect is just a leash. And I learned something else too. The boys weren't the only story. For years, I thought the headline of my life was, My sister stole every guy. But the real headline was, I survived someone who tried to make me small, and I stopped letting her. Graham proposed a few months later, not in a flashy way, not in a way designed for an audience. He did it in our kitchen while I was wearing sweatpants and stirring soup. He said, I want to be your teammate for the rest of your life. I cried. Then I said yes, because this time my happiness didn't feel like a target. It felt like mine. Epilogue, the hoodie. About a week after the restaurant, my mom dropped off a box. She didn't come inside. She just stood in the hallway holding it like it was fragile. I found some of your things at home, she said quietly. I took the box. It was heavier than it looked. When I opened it, I saw the charcoal hoodie on top. The one Brielle stole. The one I joked about like it was nothing. I picked it up and pressed it to my face. It smelled like detergent and cardboard. Not like high school. Not like my old room. Not like Brielle. For the first time, it was just fabric again. She left it, my mom said, voice tight, when she moved out. I looked up. She moved out. My mom nodded. After Miles ended the engagement, she said she couldn't stand being judged in her own house. I didn't know what to say. Some part of me felt relief. Another part felt grief. Because even when someone hurts you, losing them can still feel like losing. My mom swallowed. She blames you, she said. I nodded. I know. My mom's eyes filled. But I don't, she whispered. Not anymore. That anymore mattered. It meant she was finally admitting there had been a time she did. I let the truth sit there between us. Then I asked the question I hadn't let myself ask for years. Mom, I said softly, why didn't you stop her? My mom closed her eyes. When she opened them, her gaze looked tired. Because I thought it was sibling stuff, she said, and because Brielle scared me sometimes. I froze. My mom rushed on. Not physically, she said quickly, just emotionally. She could turn cold so fast. She'd look at you like you were nothing, and it would make you scramble to win her back. I felt my throat tighten. She did that to you too, I whispered. My mom nodded. Yes, she said, and I'm ashamed. Grant stepped into the hallway then. He didn't interrupt. He just stood near me like a quiet wall. My mom looked at him and exhaled. He's good for you, she said. Grant nodded politely. I try, he said. My mom looked back at me. I don't know what happens next, she admitted. I don't know if your sister will ever own it. I held the hoodie tighter. She might not, I said. My mom's voice broke. Can you ever forgive her? I thought about it. Not the fake forgiveness people demand so they can be comfortable. Real forgiveness. The kind that costs something. I shook my head slowly. I don't know, I said, but I know I can stop letting her hurt me. My mom nodded. She wiped her face. That's fair, she whispered. After she left, I went to the bedroom and sat on the floor with the box. I pulled out old things I'd forgotten existed. An art project, a school ID, a photo of me and Marn at 16, faces sunburned at the lake, and at the bottom, tucked under a stack of papers, I found a folded note. It was in Brielle's handwriting. Just one sentence. You always make me look bad. I stared at it until my eyes went hot. Then, very carefully, I tore it in half. Not out of rage, out of clarity. Because in that sentence was Brielle's whole worldview. If I was hurt, it was because I was weak. If she was caught, it was because I exposed her. Everything was always someone else's fault. I put the torn paper in the trash. Then I pulled on the hoodie. It was oversized. The cuffs were frayed. The paint flecks were still there. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a symbol of what Brielle took. It felt like a symbol of what I kept. My life. My voice. My ability to choose who gets access to me. And if you've been in a situation where someone keeps trying to prove they can hurt you, whether it's family, friends, or anyone else, please hear this. Their obsession isn't your responsibility. Your peace is.